So yeah, I mean, the video is entitled Jesus is not a man. Must be saying, Simon, where you going with that? I know you always have something spicy, you know, but that one there, he's not a man. I mean, yeah, we know he's fake. But for those who want to make him literal, like an actual figure, flesh and bone, he's not a man. Okay? For the woke family, I'm sure you've seen many similarities in regards to Jesus being the Son, right? And again, my family who is just coming into the awareness will see again correlations between the Son and Hero. Now, anytime you hear Hero, you know he's from the Nile Valley, right? But then while we were thriving as a nation, one of our golden ages, who was the first set of individuals we can really say to come and conquer? We're not talking about they conquer for a little time and then we come and take over. We're talking about from time they came, they saw they conquer, they snatch everything, and things has never been the same since then. So the family, again, who is woke, know I'm speaking about the Greeks, right? The Greeks family. Now, while we are referred to as the Sun people, even some would say the translation of Ethiopia being people of sunburned faces, melanated individuals. The people who conquered us are not melanated individuals, family. And as a result, they are not sun people. So the way we venerated the sun, you can find people venerating the sun like that. But let's not forget, in previous videos we have touched upon how Saturn can be seen as a lot of ancient cultures as our spiritual sun. Back in the day, Saturn was very close to the proximity of Earth. So in the night, you all think that conjunction there, you will see a little brightness as yet. That's back in the day, the way Saturn used to shine bright. It was there, like they would call it like the night sun, because obviously you will not see it during the day. It's during the night you will see it. So some would even call it the black sun, right? So a lot of ancient cultures actually venerated Saturn. And this veneration of Saturn, we can see it even coming into this 20th and 21st century. I'm talking about the Saturnalians. You know, the Saturnalia was just the day they reset it. And we can see it making sense because even before the 25th, being the 20th, because remember the conjunction was on the 21st, you know. So that's how much them Saturnalians, all that should be justification for that text that you read in regards to the Saturnalians would worship Saturn on those days, family. So the Greeks, instead of worshiping the sun, okay, as one of the divine manifestations of the source, of the creator, they would instead worship the replacement sun, because they can't stay in the sun. As I said, we know they will get melanoma, skin cancer, you know. So they will take the second best thing. Now the second best thing is obviously the sun that would shine in the night, being the black sun. And as a result is Saturn. Because a lot of cultures today, religions, take for example, we have Islam, Judaism. These religions still worship Saturn. It's a Saturn cult, family. Saturn and a lunar cult. You see? Now, we have broken down a video where we went in and we said that Saturn is actually Satan. Okay? Now, chronologically, after the Greeks conquered Kemet, okay? After the Greeks, and they stayed there for a few centuries, the Romans came and conquered after them. Now, according to Greek mythology, family, right? Saturn is Kronos, okay? And according to the story, the narrative says that Kronos basically was eating all his children. All his children that he gave birth to, he would just be eating all his children because he didn't want them to succeed him in being king of the gods. But the thing is, his wife called Rhea had a son called Zeus. Now when it came to Zeus, it's like she adored Zeus so much she would not allow Kronos to eat Zeus. So when it came to Zeus, to his time to be eaten, she actually gave Kronos a stone instead. So when it came to Zeus, he got the stone instead. That threw him off, and Zeus actually defeated him and became king of the gods. That is the story in Greek mythology. Now obviously, if we did highlight and say that Kronos is actually the planet Saturn, this is actually cosmology or cosmogony, right? So if Kronos is Saturn, then who is Zeus? Zeus is actually the planet Jupiter. The planet Jupiter, family. Now, obviously, when that mythos was actually being created, that largest planet in our solar system wasn't called Jupiter. I want the family to ride with me, ride with me well, family. Don't be, don't let me lose you there. When the Greeks conquered, the largest planet in our solar system, what we know as Jupiter today, wasn't referred to as Jupiter, family. Okay? The names we have for these planets presently came from the Romans. So the word Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Mercury, all these names are Roman names for these celestial orbs that we know today. We don't know what the ancestors referred to them. We ain't really go that deep in the research yet. And now to some degree, it's not really that important, because if I was to be breaking this down to the family and using the ancient names for the planets, you might have been lost. But if I go and I mention more like Jupiter, Saturn, you actually know which planets I'm referring to. So let's get back on track. The planet called Jupiter, as we know today, the largest planet in our solar system, wasn't referred to as Jupiter during the creation of this Greek mythology. Okay, they called it Zeus, right? Then, after the Greeks, because remember we're speaking about invasions and we're also speaking about cosmogonies as well. After the Greeks, family, the Romans came and took over. And the Romans basically just piggyback off of what the Greeks did. Okay, so you'll even hear some scholars say that it was the Greeks who came about with the Judaism, and then after the Judaism, which is basically Old Testament vibe, the Romans came in, and the Romans now piggyback off of what the Greeks were doing, and then we have the New Testament, which is the testimony of Jesus Christ, etc. Okay, it's like they had already, they took what the Greeks were already building upon, and then they, put it together and establish it. So we have Old Testament Greek, New Testament Romans. Now this same Greek mythology, right? Zeus in Greek mythology, in Roman mythology, is now called Jupiter. You see what I'm saying? Jupiter, family. Now remember, Zeus killed his father Kronos, which is Saturn, and became king of the gods, Zeus, right? Zeus. And then we have the Romans coming and taking over and naming Zeus now Jupiter. Now, why is Jupiter, so important to these people? I mean, according to the mythology again, right? Jupiter still, family, is the largest planet in our solar system. The amount of time it takes for Jupiter to do a revolution around the sun is almost the same as a cycle that the sun goes through, called the 11.5-year sunspot cycle. So these correlations there, family, we can see why these planets are actually very significant to these individuals. We're not even going to speak about the prominences that they give off during certain times of the year, right? So what I'm saying is Zeus in Greek mythology, Jupiter in Roman mythology. Remember, the title of the video is Jesus is Not a Man. So Jupiter, we have Ju, the beginning of the word Jupiter. And Greek mythology, we have Zeus. So we see Zeus. Ju for Roman mythology, and Zeus for Greek mythology. So when you take these two names and you combine them, you actually get Zeus. But remember, that's Greek and Roman, You see what I'm saying? We still have their own language in themselves. But when we come down to the English, the Jesus now becomes Jesus. How's about that, family? Just a little bill, It's just a little bill. And you will say, oh, guys, you're always coming up with something. But, I mean, it's just reality and fact. Because if those two are the two conquering nations who came and conquered, us, really, according to history, and then going off of the mythology and the book that they've given us, will always be decoding and coming up with different shit in their family. So the Jesus, who is not a literal individual, who is still a personification of the sun, but we can also see tied into that is also the worship of Zeus and Jupiter. And don't try to tell me that the ancients wasn't moving according to the celestials. Even though it was our oppressors, we were doing the same thing because they learned it from us. And having said that, family, just a little short video. Go into 2021 like you got 3,000 ancestors inside, behind, and in front of you. Peace, love, and don't forget that coconut oil.